Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And it is a large 13-game slate on Friday night. Nate and I are recording this on Thursday, getting ahead of those big lines as there's only 2 games here on this Thursday night where we're recording for you guys. Definitely want to make sure to like and subscribe to that page. We're bringing you a game video and our player props each and every weekday this season, so like and subscribe and follow along. Thelines.com is where you can get all the great written content and the odds finder tool we have, so go ahead and head over there to make sure you're getting the best juice on all these games in the NBA this season. In this one, we're talking about these Hawks and the Nets. Interesting stuff right around the middle of this Eastern Conference as we get ready for the playoffs. Nate, let's run through the line of this game here, some of the stuff, the total and all that, and then we will jump right into our best bets for this one.
Yeah, it's a pick 'em as it opens here. Atlanta at Brooklyn, and the total at 242.5. Pretty on par for a Hawks game. They're actually averaging about 249 under Quinn Snyder. But they've pretty much gone over under at an even rate there. So not touching that. What our pick is basically just Hawks to win. We'd play that up to -2 or 3. Just not buying the Nets. Really just wondering what the hell Miami is doing that they lost by 29 and got outscored.
Maybe they're not
by
good.
33. Like, you don't think there's anything intentional about this? To get outscored by 33 in a game you have to win to avoid the play-in. It's almost like they want to be in the play-in so they can like get some extra tickets and like warm up before the real playoffs. Like, I don't know what the hell happened there, but the Nets are not good either. They've beat the Rockets and didn't manage to cover after that, but otherwise they've lost 6 of their last 8. Heavily dependent on the three-pointer and on spreading the ball around, assisting to get those threes, which is certainly something you can get against Atlanta. I'm not gonna say their offense is gonna struggle here. I mean, it has gotten right in the last 3 games for them here. Nick Claxton has also done a pretty good job of protecting the paint. Not the same things we were targeting a few games ago when we were saying, like, look, the Nets can't score at all. They were averaging like 101. Now they have more of a balanced effort. Mikal Bridges isn't quite playing over his skis as much as he was. But, I mean, it's more that Atlanta, while they're consistently inconsistent, as we'll say again, I just think they have a little bit more firepower, particularly off the bench. And that's where I think this game is gonna separate a little bit. These teams met in late February, and it was an absolute shootout once again from Atlanta. The Hawks hit 16 threes. They won the rebounding battle. Both teams shot around 50%. But how did Atlanta win? I mean, Bogdanovic, Saddiq Bey, and the bench outscoring that Nets bench, which is obviously very thin and lacks a lot of offense. Since the All-Star break, I mean, Atlanta's 4th in bench points and with the best field goal percentage in the league, and Brooklyn 27th in field goal percentage off the bench. When you look at the limitations they have for guys on either side of the ball, it's the same problems they had even when they had Kyrie and KD. Is like, how do we field a lineup where we can both play offense and defense when you have like Seth Curry and Royce O'Neal? If you know the old like tape them to each other's backs and then one of them can play defense and one can play offense. Like, that's pretty much what Jacques Vaughn is still dealing with. And so, I mean, Atlanta not exactly reliable on the road though. 2-4 under Quinn Snyder here. And not a great 3-point shooting team either, but I think the mid-range is available against the Nets. Like I said, Claxton's doing a good job protecting the rim. And, I mean, they are giving up. They're still bottom 10 in terms of 3-point percentage, 19th in paint points allowed in this 8-game span here. I just think there's superior talent in the Hawks backcourt. It's just as baffling as the Heat, some of these Hawks games that we get into. And so you might wonder, like, do they want to win? But I mean, yeah, it's very important for them to obviously win this game and manage their position in the play-in so that they don't have to go on the road and so that they get in the best position possible to try and advance.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm buying the Hawks caring. I'm buying them trying. Right when Nate McMillan got let go, left the team because he didn't want to be there, however you want to put it. we kind of brought up how this is the Trae Young Hawks MO, that he gets his coach fired at some point in the middle towards the last third of the season, and then they play well going into the playoffs, and in one case end up in the conference finals. But the idea that they're going to start doing that now a little bit late seems plausible, right? Like, it's a little bit later than we thought, but I do like the way that they're playing a bit more. And a huge part of that, and it's something we talked about a few shows ago when I brought up Clint Capella's props and went under against the Cavaliers, even though they didn't even have Jared Allen in that game. And that was because, one, it was way too high. It was at 12.5, and that was absurd against the Cavs. The team gives up 40 rebounds a game. So how is one man going to get 12 of those? But the thing here is, this is not that team. And the Nets, it's interesting. We talked about how good Nick Claxton has been all season. He's been incredible defending the rim in terms of limiting the opponent's field goal percentage around the rim, getting some good blocks, obviously, up in the top of the league in blocks and steals and blocks combined, playing really well as a super athletic, shorter center, if you will. Cannot hang with a robust front court. And part of the reason that I also, didn't like Clint to go up and get his numbers in that game is there's actually a bunch more guys now down low. Once again, with John Collins and Okongwu coming back for this Hawks team, they finally have a formidable front court. And that's what I'm looking at in the last 9 games as the Hawks have had all 3 of those guys that I mentioned there in the front court. They're not obviously, but it should be obvious to some. They're scoring 20 second chance points a game, far and away the most, far more than even the Pistons, by the way. Shout out James Wiseman and Marvin Bagley for dominating the second chance points, but way more than even them. And the opponent points in the paint there for the Nets is going to continue to be bad. It's been bad since they lost KD, which has been a conversation around Kevin Durant since he was on the Warriors, when it became obvious, and he took his defense up a huge notch, and it became obvious that he was crucial for their defense from some of the on-off numbers that became present when he was on that team. It continued over here onto the Nets, once he came back from the injury, and he's been a force down low for them, and he's just not there anymore. And the sort of parade of aging big men that they've brought in for the past 3 seasons, from DeAndre Jordan to LaMarcus Aldridge to Blake Griffin to you name it. I think George Russell or Bill Russell got in there for a little bit at some point. Those aging centers that they tried to bring in just didn't work for the Nets, and it's now they're left, with that big hole in that area of the floor for them. So yeah, I mean, their wing players are great. Their 3-pointers are great. They're just a team full of 6'8", 6'6" guys that can shoot if left open. And now Mikhail's been able to find his shot. He's come down to earth a little bit, but I believe he's about 25.5 to 26.5 points in this game, and that's probably right about where he should be as well, because that's what he's putting up at this point. So the points are going to be there for both of these teams, I believe. And the defense, while it's been reliable for the Nets to the degree that it's a solid defensive rating, where they're getting scored on is exactly how I think they're going to get dominated in this game with all the huge bodies for Atlanta.
That's a good call. Yeah, the rebounding being such an issue, that is something we targeted a few games ago for the Nets, and they're giving up the 7th most offensive rebounds in this 8-game span. It's because you have these limitations where you want more offense, so you've got Cam Johnson and Mikal as the 3 and 4, and they're just not big enough or physical enough to rebound against an aggressive front court like the Hawks. But yeah, the Hawks aren't stopping anybody, as we know. 242 is a really high over for a Nets team that has been anemic at times at home offensively. But
yeah,
like the one thing I do have faith in the Hawks, though, is that their biggest issue in the last 8 is giving up paint points. In fact, dead last in that department, but Brooklyn's scoring the 3rd fewest percentage of their points in the paint. They're going to live and die by the 3, which Atlanta is also awful defending, also 3rd worst. But I mean, if you're going to live and die by that, and there's some variance and the Hawks are going to win the rebounding edge as they did last time. Both teams paraded to the free throw line in that game. I definitely trust, the superior backcourt, as I said, with Trae and DeJounte. But if we're making another pick in this game, I do like the Nets guards to get their numbers, specifically Dinwiddie, at 10 assists or 20.5 points in assists. I think there's plenty of opportunities for him to continue to facilitate the way he has for the Nets, 11 dimes in 4 straight home games at least, and he's had a lot of success against Trae Young and the Hawks, like most point guards have. We hit that with Garland last time out, and I think we can continue to attack Trae Young's defense.
Yeah. One quick stat that's hysterical is that this Hawks team in their last 10 games have actually gone under 5 times. The average score of those unders is 241 points. So what are we talking about here? So I guess, yeah, they've gone under just as much on this total as they have in all of these last 10 for them. But like, what are we talking about, man? That's crazy. Just like you couldn't stop a nosebleed. It's brutal. But I do think there's an opportunity for points for some of the guards on this team. I know Cam Johnson, he obviously went off. We should have mentioned that for him as well. Last game in that win versus the Rockets. And I mean, this is a similar defense around the perimeter to that Rockets team. KPJ and Jalen Green are playing just about as much defense as Trae Young. I mean, DeJounte was supposed to come in and do a lot better. It just has not been the case, even for him, as he's really just sort of taken on that role of just secondary offensive point guard, really. So at any rate, that is all the time we have for you guys. Definitely continue to follow along, like and subscribe to that page. We're going with the Hawks tonight. Got another game video up for you and our player props. So until we see you next, happy betting.